There is a gland in the center of your brain, roughly the size of a grain of rice. And for the better part of modern medical history, it was treated as a vestigial leftover, a biological footnote with no real function worth discussing. That assumption was wrong, and the people who built entire spiritual traditions around this gland thousands of years before anyone had a microscope were not guessing. The pineal gland sits at the exact geometric center of the brain, equidistant from every major structure around it. It is the only part of the brain that is not duplicated on both hemispheres. Everything else in your skull comes in pairs, left and right mirrored. This does not. It stands alone, singular, at the center, and that architecture alone should tell you something about how it was designed to function. Here is what is verifiable, no mysticism required. Yet, the pineal gland produces melatonin, which regulates your sleep cycles, your sense of time, your relationship to light and darkness. It also contains light-sensitive cells, structurally similar to the photoreceptors in your actual eyes, sitting deep inside your skull, where no external light should reasonably reach. Some species, fish and reptiles, have a pineal structure that functions as a literal third eye, sensing light directly through the skull. In humans, that structure folded inward during development, but the photoreceptive tissue did not disappear. It is still there, still capable of responding to something, even though conventional anatomy struggles to explain exactly what that something is supposed to be in a structure with no direct external light source. This is where the esoteric traditions picked up where the textbook stopped. Descartes, a man not known for mystical leanings, called this gland the seat of the soul, the literal point where the immaterial and the material intersect. Ancient Egyptian, Hindu, and Tibetan traditions independently arrived at the same architecture, depicting a third eye at the same anatomical location, thousands of years apart, with no possible communication between them. That is not coincidence. That is multiple civilizations observing the same internal reality through different cultural language, the same way separate scientists independently discovering the same law of physics is not coincidence either. So what is actually happening at this point of convergence? The pineal gland appears to function as a translator, a structure that converts between two registers of experience, the electrochemical signals of ordinary perception and something far more subtle, often described as direct knowing rather than sensory input. Most people never experience this directly, not because the capacity does not exist, but because the gland itself is, in a very literal physiological sense, asleep. Calcification, the gradual hardening of tissue through fluoride exposure, processed food, chronic stress, and simple disuse builds up on this gland over a lifetime, the same way it builds up anywhere else in the body that goes unused. A calcified pineal gland is not broken, it is dormant. There is a meaningful difference between those two words, and almost everything about how you were raised pushed you toward treating dormant as broken, toward never even questioning why a structure this strategically placed would exist at all if it had nothing left to do. This matters because the implications extend far past spirituality into something closer to basic self-governance. If this gland genuinely functions as an interface between ordinary perception and a more direct form of knowing, then its dormancy is not a neutral biological fact. It is a limitation on what you are capable of perceiving, and limitations on perception are never philosophically neutral. They shape what you believe is possible, what you believe is true, and what you never even think to question, because the apparatus required to question it has been sitting calcified and unused since childhood. Consider how deliberately certain environmental factors target this exact structure. Fluoride accumulates in the pineal gland at a higher concentration than in any other soft tissue in the human body, a fact confirmed in mainstream dental and toxicology research, not fringe literature. Whether that accumulation is incidental or something closer to intentional is a separate conversation, one I am not going to resolve for you in a single video. But the basic physiological fact stands on its own, independent of any conspiracy framing. The gland tasked with translating between ordinary and extraordinary perception happens to be uniquely vulnerable to one of the most ubiquitous substances added to modern water and food. Draw your own conclusions, but draw them from the actual data, not from dismissing the data, because the implications make you uncomfortable. So the question becomes practical. If dormancy is the default condition rather than a permanent one, what actually reverses it? And I want to be precise here, because this is the part most spiritual content gets either irresponsibly vague or irresponsibly grandiose about. Decalcification is not a single dramatic event. It is a slow, cumulative process, closer to physical fitness than to a light switch. Reducing fluoride exposure matters. Choosing filtered water, paying attention to where your food comes from, sunlight exposure to the eyes, particularly early morning light, has a documented relationship to pineal function through the same pathway that regulates melatonin production, which means something as unremarkable as stepping outside without sunglasses for 10 minutes after waking is doing more for this gland than any expensive supplement marketed specifically towards spiritual awakening. Meditation practices that involve sustained focus on the point between the eyebrows, found independently across multiple ancient traditions, appear to have a genuine relationship to activity in this region, something modern neuroimaging has begun to take seriously rather than dismiss outright. None of this produces an overnight transformation, and I want to say that plainly because over-promising here does real damage to people's trust in their own bodies. What it produces with consistency over months and years is increased sensitivity, increased access to the kind of direct knowing this structure seems designed to provide, not psychic powers in the way pop culture imagines them. Something quieter and more useful than that. A growing capacity to know something is true or false without needing external validation to confirm it. A growing distance between yourself and the constant noise of manufactured doubt that modern life specializes in producing. This connects to something larger than the gland itself, which is the actual point I want you to leave with today. Every system that benefits from your dependency, financial, political, social, has a vested interest in you trusting external authority over your own internal knowing. A population with reliable access to direct perception is a population significantly harder to manipulate through manufactured fear, manufactured scarcity, and manufactured urgency, because manipulation depends almost entirely on bypassing internal knowing and routing beliefs belief through external authority instead. This is not a claim that decalcifying a gland makes you immune to manipulation. It is a claim that the capacity for direct knowing and the capacity for being manipulated exist in something close to inverse proportion, and dormancy serves one side of that equation far better than the other. What I'm asking you to do is not exotic. Get morning sunlight in your eyes before you look at a screen. Pay attention to your water. Sit in silence with focused attention for even 5 minutes a day, consistently, without needing it to produce a dramatic result on day one. Treat this gland the way you would treat any other dormant capacity in your body, with patience and consistency rather than urgency and spectacle. I want to address the skepticism directly because a healthy amount of it is appropriate, and I would rather you keep it than abandon it for the sake of a comforting story. Most of what circulates online about the pineal gland gets presented with a confidence the actual research does not fully support. Some of the more extreme claims, instant third eye opening, guaranteed psychic ability, visions on command, are marketing, not science, and dressing manipulations in spiritual language does not make it less manipulative. The honest position sits in the middle. The physiological facts are real and documented. The ancient correspondence across unconnected civilizations is real and worth taking seriously. What remains genuinely uncertain is the precise mechanism connecting verified biology to the experiences these traditions describe, and anyone who tells you that uncertainty has been fully resolved is selling you something rather than teaching you something. That uncertainty is not a reason to dismiss the practice. Plenty of things produce reliable, repeatable results long before science fully explains the mechanism behind them. Exercise improved mood for the entirety of human history before anyone understood endorphins. The lack of a complete explanation never stopped the practice from working. The same standard applies here. Try the actual practices, the sunlight, the reduced fluoride exposure, the sustained attention, and evaluate the results in your own direct experience over time, rather than deciding in advance based on whichever extreme version of the claim you encountered first, the dismissive version or the grandiose one. The structure was built into you on purpose, sitting at the exact center of your brain, singular, where everything else comes in pairs. That is not architecture without function. That is architecture waiting for you to stop calling it broken long enough to find out what it was actually built to do.